Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I'm doing my final in-depth review of the Kyocera Hydro Icon on Boost Mobile. I'm going to go through the specs of the phone, run some tests, and go through the whole phone or whatever I can, or everything that I can think of to go over with this phone here. It's going to be a little lengthy, but all the in-depth reviews are going to be that way, so I want to get through a lot of the stuff with this phone here, so let's go ahead and get started. This phone does run Android 4.3. It has been upgraded to Android 4.4.2 KitKat. It is IP57 certified for water and shock resistance. It weighs around 5 ounces. This phone is military 810 certified for I think it's drop and shock resistance. It's got a 4.5-inch display with 540 by 960 resolution, 245 ppi. It does have an IPS LCD display. It is multi-touch. It has a light sensor, proximity sensor, and scratch-resistant glass. It's got an 8 megapixel camera on the rear with LED flash. Has a number of features like autofocus, burst mode, digital zoom, geotagging, HDR, panorama effects, and so on. It records in full 1080p HD at 30 frames per second, and it's got a 2 megapixel camera in the front. This phone runs a 1.2 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor with 1.5 gigabytes of RAM with 8 gigs of built-in storage, and you get, I think, between 4 to 5 gigs of user storage, if I'm not mistaken. We will check that here in a few minutes. And it will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card, even though I have heard reports that it will hold higher than that, like a 64 gigabyte, but I'm not for sure about that. It's got a 2000 milliamp hour battery with around 14 hours of talk time, estimated 8 days of standby time. This phone is LTE, and it does support Sprint's Spark network, which is their enhanced LTE service. It does have LTE, and it's got NFC, water resistant. It's just a really nice phone in general. So now that that's done and over with, we'll take you on the phone. Up here, as you see, there is no speaker, which because this phone has the Kyocera Smart Sonic Receiver. Front facing camera. On the bottom here is your back, home, and recents button. On the bottom here, you got your microphone and your micro USB charging port. On the side here is your volume rocker. On top is your headset jack, power button. There is nothing on this side. On the back is your flash, camera, and rear speaker. Let me try to pop off the back cover here. I had it off earlier and I just kind of put it back on there halfway. Of course, here is your battery, 2000 milliamp hour. Right up here is your white micro SIM card, and right above it is your micro SD card slot. So all in here, you do have to remove the battery to take out the micro SD card. So that's kind of a bummer, but you know, oh well. So go ahead and snap back on the back here really good and snug and tight. And we'll go ahead and power the phone up. Like I said, this phone does run KitKat now, and I've really not seen any difference. There is a few things that have changed in the phone, like the dialer, stuff like that. Some of the noises it makes, stuff. There's just not a whole lot of difference, but it is a little bit. We will go ahead and go in here. The phone is loaded down with apps pretty much. I mean, it's got a lot of apps on it, as you can tell. And if the phone still runs very smooth, very little lag, Of course, if you use it pretty heavy for a length of time, of course it does, slow down some. But this is a lower end device, low to mid range device. It costs about $100 right now, off contract, and that's a very good deal. Especially for the IP and mil spec certified. And one of the best things with this phone right here, to me, is the 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. It's amazing what the extra 500 megabytes will do to a phone as far as being able to use it and having apps running and the smoothness of the phone compared to a phone with only 1 gigabyte of RAM. We will look at some of the speeds that I ran. First of all, here we go to the N22 benchmark here. Came in at 18,033, which is a pretty respectable speed. I am recording 480 as well, so the screen ain't gonna look the best. Reason why I'm recording in 480 is to cut down on so many megabytes. When I upload it, it won't take so long to do. So anyway, the details here, it all got good. CPU was good, RAM was good, 2D, 3D graphics was good. So not a bad score, 18,033, and this is with a phone that is loaded down with apps. So yeah, we'll look at the quadrant here. Might have to run another test, I'm not sure. Of course I do. I've not cleaned it or anything. It's just basically running what it's running. And the last test I think I ran was around 8,400, if I ain't mistaken. So we'll see what she runs now. This is a really nice device. There is a few problems with this phone that I have experienced while using it. It's nothing really. I mean, some people might think it's a big issue. Some may say, oh, it's no big deal. But these are just some of the problems that I found in the phone, and I will get into that here in a few minutes if I don't forget. But I really want to tell the good and the bad, in my opinion, of this phone in this in-depth review. So we will go ahead and push yes here. And this phone came in at 8,424, which is pretty much what it ran earlier, close to it, which is a very respectable speed for this phone. The CPU down here is 33,301. I did run a Geekbench on it, and the Geekbench came in pretty low, and I've already ran it, but as you see here, Android 4.4.2, and I've done ran the benchmark, but we'll run it one more time. Some of the pros while this is running of this phone is the 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. The quad-core processor is nice. The mil-spec IP certification on this phone. The camera's pretty decent. Call quality, it's so-so. I've had some good call quality. I've had some bad call quality. It's kind of iffy. The phone feels good when you're holding it. It does play games well. It really has no issues doing heavy tasks, heavy games. Netflix plays really well. Also the battery life is it's good. It ain't the best, but for what it is, it does seem to last about a full day of moderate usage. And I'm glad that it got the new 4.4 update. Everybody says Kyocera is, is a lower end, kind of a bottom of the barrel type phone. And yes, they're not the best in the world, but to me, I've always liked the Kyocera phones, to an extent, and really, honestly, not had any issue with their phones. And this one right here is no exception. This phone right here works very well. It's very smooth, and like I say, I think that the extra RAM really helps this phone out a lot. That's one of the things that I like about using this phone more than any other Boost Mobile phone is the fact that it does have more RAM than other phones I have with Boost Mobile. So as you see here, the numbers are pretty low. 341 on single core score and 1121 on multi-score. Go in here and look. And compared to some of these newer phones, it is pretty weak. You go down here and it's above the Moto G, above the Galaxy Nexus. It's right below the Galaxy S3. So, it's not the best score in the world. Multi-score here, 1121. It's between the Moto G and the Moto X. So, not the best scores in the world, but it does do okay. Screen quality is very good on this phone as well. It looks good, looks nice and clean. Like I said, watching videos is really nice. We'll go into the dialer here, and with the update on KitKat, instead of it does change the recent calls, dial pad, and menu. When you make phone calls, receive phone calls, they are in a line up here, and does show your recents and everything. Go to the dial pad. Dial pad is really nice and big, and you'll have really no issues typing on this phone, and calling numbers, because it has a very nice big keyboard, which is really nice, especially for people that are older that may not be able to see as good. Big keypad is really nice as well. We will go into the messaging app, and you have your standard keyboard. Nothing spectacular, but it does work well. It does register well. I have no problem. I can type fast on it, and I have no issues. It has really good auto correction as well. So yeah, it does do pretty good. Emojis, it does have plenty. As you see here, they are colored, and you do have a lot here that you can choose by. And like the LG Volt, there is no shortage in emojis. And you also, it's hard to see exactly where I'm touching, looking to the camera. It does have different selections for different occasions. So there is a lot. And of course, you can go over here and just look at the original, emojis over here. So it does have a lot of emojis on this phone. And the keypad, like I said, is your standard keypad, but it does work well. It is big enough, and I have no issues myself typing on it. Go into the settings here, and of course, maximizer. I like using maximizer because it automatically limits the background data connection of certain apps when you're not using them. This helps save battery with little impact to your phone's performance. So that's really nice to have as well. And of course, like I said, I'm going here into storage, and I will see it does have 4.42 gigabytes of total space, and it has 1 gigabyte in the phone. So around 5.5 gigs of total storage. And of course, I got an 8 gigabyte card in the phone and everything, but 5.5 gigs is not bad. Of course, it is used for different things. Going to the apps here, and I got about 50 plus apps downloaded on this phone. And as you see here, I've only got 1.5 gigs used. Some of them is on the SD card. And over here running, you'll see that 751 megabytes is being used, while 609 megabytes is free. Of course, you got all these apps here running. Once I do delete the Antutu benchmark, stuff like that, it will, clear more RAM, but it still runs very smooth compared. And I also have disabled a lot of apps that I don't use. The camera, Now the camera on this thing has its ups and its downs, and I will get into that here in a second. This phone has got a lot of features. We'll go into the settings here, and down here you have your camcorder button, your camera button, and your switch here from your rear facing camera to your front facing camera, as you can see here. So flash, your white balance here. You have your scene selection, portrait, landscape, night portrait, night landscape, and action. You have your mode. You got normal, color effect, continuous shooting, panorama, smile shutter, HDR, and quick shot. And with color effect, you do have a number of effects that you can use when you're taking pictures. As you can see here, so it does have quite a few features as far as different modes. Let's go back in here and just go back to normal. Push this button down here and you got another selection, which up here is your picture size, 8 megapixel, 6 megapixel wide, 16 by 9, 5 megapixel 3.2, 2 megapixel 0.8 megapixel QHD, 960 by 540, and VGA 640 by 480. It does record at full 1080, 30 frames per second. Records at 720p. DVD 480. I think this is more like a 720 by 480. VGA is 640 by 480. QVGA and MMS. Autofocus. You have continuous autofocus. Now, it's not very smooth whenever you are recording on continuous autofocus. It's not smooth. It really goes in and out a lot to get the clarity, and you can really tell the difference. Now, if you're going to be recording far away, if you push infinity, you don't have that issue. You can record far away and it won't focus none. It'll be clear, and you won't have no issue with it kind of going in and out. So that's also a nice thing to have as well. Auto exposure here, brightness, your contrast, your self timer, your ISO up to 800, auto review, your blink detection, picture quality super fine, fine, and normal, your store location of where you take your picture, your auxiliary line. You have your time-lapse recording of off 1 second, 1.52, 2.5, 3, 5, and 10 seconds. You're able to mute or unmute your audio recording. And it does record in two formats of MPEG 4 and 3GPP. And this last one down here is to reset back to your default settings. You can record in 720 and 480 on the front facing camera as well, and it is a 2 megapixel camera. So yeah, there we go. A lot of features on the camera. I like this phone, I really do. Some of the bads about this phone, one is call quality. On my end, there's times it's very nice, very clear, no issues, and there's times that it sounds like the speaker is busted, like a busted speaker, and I gotta recall back somebody. I have to hang up the phone, recall back to get a clear call. There is times it does mess up, but it does have the smart sonic receiver, so it is something that's fairly new, and you know it does work okay. But I prefer a speaker in the phone myself. Let me see. There was some other things I wanted to say about it too that I really didn't like about it, but right now I can't think of any. One is Wi-Fi distance. If I take my LG Volt and this phone right here outside to my car, I can get 2 bars of Wi-Fi signal and be able to get on the internet fine, while this phone here will say no connection. And so therefore, not a big deal. It's just one of the things I wanted to add, that Wi-Fi does not reach very far on this phone. One of the worst things with this phone here is the camcorder. And it's not so much the camcorder quality, and I'm going to make a video showing you what I mean here after this video right here. I'm going to use a front-facing camera, recording in 480, and I want to show you the problem that it has with the camcorder. Now, I'm not sure if it's an isolated problem with my phone, or if it's a widespread problem. If it's a widespread problem, a software update should be able to fix it. But I do have some issue with the camcorder, and I will make that video here showing you what I mean. Instead of describing it, I will just show you what I mean. Other than that, Bluetooth works good, screen looks good, you can download a lot of apps, you can also move apps to your SD card, and while the whole app does not move, the majority of it does move, so you're able to clear out some more space in your internal memory and everything. Camera takes pretty good pictures. I will try to upload a couple of photos that I took with this phone right here in the right it's right in the right settings and in the right everything with this phone. It does take some very good clear pictures, and I've not had any issue with the camera. And like I say, camcorder is good as well, but it does have one issue, actually two issues. The audio recording while recording video is terrible. You got to really about holler into the camera to get it to really sound like you're getting through, because it does not sound good at all, and I will show you that as well when I make that video. But other than that, this is an excellent phone, and I would recommend it to anybody looking for a phone maybe who works outside and wants a dust proof, waterproof, or water resistant mil-spec device that's under $100 off contract with Boost Mobile. If you get Virgin Mobile, you have the Kyocera Hydro Vibe, which is not mil-spec, but is basically the same phone. Even though I have had, even though I've had both phones, the icon is better in my opinion. I don't know why, it just is. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say about this phone before I end the video. Can't think of anything right off the top of my head right now. But it is a nice phone. It is smooth, and I like using it. The reception on this phone is not quite as good as my other phones on Boost Mobile, being the Warp and the Volt. Both of them phones have reception in my house to where I can call out clear. This phone right here does cut out a lot and even does drop calls. So I do have a little bit of issue with reception with this phone, but once you get out into a good service area, it does do very well. Connects to LTE, very quick, has fast download and upload speeds, and overall I'm very satisfied with this device. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. I hope I got through everything I wanted to get through with this phone. If you have any questions or comments about this phone, please feel free to ask me. Yeah, this is it. The in-depth review of the Kyocera Hydro Icon. Be sure to press that like button and subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and we'll talk to y'all later.